What's going on, everybody? So today we have to talk about boosting our greater rift levels, how to get more damage, how to get more toughness, how to really start to streamline your progression. I'm getting a lot of comments like this one over here. Let's see a build update. I want to see how your toughness is so high and how you get your damage so high. I've actually gotten quite a few comments like this, and I kind of enjoy getting some of your questions answered because a lot of you are coming from the game, and there's a lot of established people that have been playing D3 for quite some time, and there's so many people that don't know all these basic, kind of, you could say, what a lot of people would consider basic things in the game because they've been doing it for so long. So I figured, you know what, let's dive in. Let's talk about some tips to help you boost your Greater Rift progression. For those of you that may not have been playing a ton, or maybe you might learn something or a mindset that might change even if you have been playing for a while. So let's dive into it. As per usual, everyone, I will leave timestamps in the description down below if you guys want to jump to maybe how to get more damage, how to get more toughness, how to get the Guardian set, things like that. But first off, we got to start off with the altar. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I've spent so much time on this over the course, but it wouldn't be a season 28 video on how to get better at boosting your Greater Rift levels without talking about the altar. There's a few things in here that are incredibly important. Obviously, the first thing is that boosting your Greater Rifts, getting this additional progress orb is so important. Okay, it's going to speed up your Greater Rifts by a ton of time. On top of that, getting actual damage nodes. Okay, right here there's actual damage nodes and damage reduction nodes. You can see here like increased damage against elites, increased damage done to bosses, increased damage against elites, damage reduction, melee damage reduction. So there's a ton of different areas of the game on top of the father potion here where you can just spam dimensional powers and random shrines. There's super powerful buffs. So you absolutely, the first thing you should be doing in this game, yes, you should go for season journey, yes, you should grind out your initial kind of regular farm build, but as soon as you finish your season journey, as soon as you get that done, immediately finish this out. If you haven't finished this out, do it. Okay, this is going to really streamline and boost a ton of your progression. Now let's talk about something that a lot of people don't realize how powerful it is, and that's Guardian Set. So Guardian Set is a craftable set here. If you look here, it's going to be the Guardian's Aversion, and it comes in waist, wrists, and head. Now you obviously need the recipe from, I believe, doing bounties, but these sets are incredibly strong, arguably the strongest set in terms of every class that can use it for the early to mid game. And when I say early to mid game, I mean Paragon 0 to about Paragon 18, 19, 2000. Okay, so if you're in that span of Paragon levels, Guardian Set is almost always the best in slot choice for you. Why is this so good? And why do I want a separate topic to talk about this set? Well, one, every set can use it, or every class can use it. So that's super important, right? Because everyone class can use it, everyone can go with this strategy, right? It's also a 3-piece set, which means it works with Ring of Royal Grandeur, right? So that means you can use 2 pieces with Ring of Royal Grandeur, which is oftentimes used for your piece sets. You can get 5 pieces instead of 6. So it's a really nice slot in for a lot of builds. Not only that, but the stats on it are typically good, which is nice. But then the main reason is the set effect itself. There's 2 parts to this. This will both increase your damage and toughness by massive amounts, mainly because of the 3 set effect. It says you gain additional 100% of your base strength, dex, intelligence, and vitality attributes from equipped items. So you can see here I have 21,600 dexterity. Normally, this would be around, if I happen to have a normal piece, around maybe 11,000 dexterity without the Guardian Set, which means I'm basically doubling the damage increase that I get from dexterity. Same with vitality here. My vitality would probably be around 6,000 to 7,000. Right now I have, as we can see here, 1.8 million life. If I were to remove the Guardian Set, I lose literally like half my life because I'm literally doubling it due to the extra vitality. So what this does is it not only boosts your damage by kind of double, it also will boost your toughness by a massive amount, okay? And this is why it's so important. Now, the reason why it falls off later on is because you're going to get more dexterity, more vitality through your Paragon levels. And when you get more Paragon levels, obviously the amount of dexterity that you're getting from your base attributes is a less percentage amount of the total amount of dexterity. So that's super important. As you can see here, I'm getting about, let's say, 2,500 dexterity here. So if I get to about 2k Paragon, that'll be about, let's say, well, I'm using 200 in each of these, right? So this is well, another 900 points essentially in here, which basically means this will go to about, I don't know, about 7-8k dex. So that's a massive amount, and so Guardian's value gets less, and you can use other sets to give you more percentage increases. But not only that, but you're also, the 2-set effect is massive as well, because you're also getting essentially extra damage reduction for melee and missile damage. You can see here I'm going to get roughly, again, from base vitality and base dexterity or intelligence or strength, around 6 to 7% melee and missile damage reduction, which is another big buff to your toughness. So if you're not running Guardian set and you're below that 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800 Paragon, try to fit this set in at any cost. Even if you see build guides and they don't have Guardian set, if you're looking for a more stable build, safe build, while also getting you a ton of value, Guardian set is the way to go 99% of the time, as long as you're not super high in Paragon. All right, so now we talked about Guardians. That deserved its whole topic here because a lot of people don't know the power of Guardians, but I want to talk about more general damage strategies here. So damage, really, it's based on, your attack speed, your crit, your passive, your, weapons, all that type of stuff makes up your damage stat. Now, this damage stat doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but in order to increase your damage generally, I want to offer a couple of tips here that can be used for every class. Now, obviously, every class has their own set items, their own, kind of strategy. Maybe you want a dual wield, maybe you're just single wield, maybe you're two-handed, whatever it is. Every class has their own strategies, but some of these strategies can be applicable towards every single class, okay? First things first, elemental damage is incredibly good. Okay, you can get elemental damage on your bracers, on your amulet. These things make it so that you really can amp up your damage, and you want to match your elemental damage to whatever element you're using the most, right? For example, here I have cold damage increased by 30%, which isn't particularly amazing, right? My amulet isn't that great. My scorch necklace here, I'm missing some elemental damage, right? But what I can see here is my devouring arrow, hungering arrow here, my devouring arrow, the bonus here, is actually cold damage. So you want to match your elemental damage to whatever element weapon you're using. For example, if you're playing Tall Rasha Meteor and you're running cold meteor, you're not cold damage. If you're running, I don't know, like some sort of Blood Nova with Necromancer, I believe that's physical damage. You want physical damage. The basic premise is match element to whatever elemental skill you're using for the most, right? Very important that you do that. Second thing is crit rate and crit damage are super important. You can get it on the amulets, you can get it on the rings, you can get it on the gloves, you can get it on the helmet a little bit. All of these areas, in order to get you more crit, is massively important. The general consensus here, again, if you just want to just really quickly get a average general look on how much crit chance versus how much crit damage, from what I understand, it's about 10 times the crit chance in your crit damage. For example, if I have 49% crit chance, I'm running my T16 farming build. My normal build looks like this here. Let me just go ahead and swap. Actually, hold on. Yeah, I have to save some things. Let me just swap my build over here so you guys can see what I'm usually working with here. So let's go ahead and equip that and slot those on. There we go. So this is what I'm normally working with. And with this setup here, I have 40% crit chance and 567% crit damage. The way this works is I'm going to want about 10 times the crit damage as I want the crit chance. This is very important. This is usually going to get you more value from your stats as possible, but you can see here I'm missing some crit chance on some of my stuff, so I'm not perfect. But generally speaking, that's what you're going to want to do. The third thing is primal your weapons. Now, this is unique to season 28, but generally speaking, if you don't have a good ancient weapon or you don't have a good weapon in general, just primal it. Reason for that is that you're just going to get the max damage, right? You're going to get the max damage specifically in terms of your primary stat damage, which is going to massively increase that. And then, of course, if you get that 10% damage node on your weapon here, that's going to be a massively important thing as well. I'm running some cooldown right now because it helps keep up my vengeance permanently. But generally speaking, you're going to want that 10% damage. It's going to give you a lot more damage. So primaling your weapons is going to be a nice way to get extra damage. And those three tips, I think in general, applies to every single class. Obviously, augmenting is a huge way, but that goes both in damage and toughness, as well as going for your Ramalandi's gifts. So you can go ahead and get your gems in your weapons, your emeralds specifically to get critical hit damage increase. There's a lot of other small tips that you can potentially specify for specific classes, but generally speaking, those are the things that are going to massively increase your damage overall. Now let's talk about toughness. Now toughness is actually a little bit different because toughness is more of a mindset difference than an actual guide to how to build your character, okay? Because a lot of builds optimize for damage in this game. If you look at things like max roll, you look at things like that, obviously they want to give you a recommended amount of toughness, but generally speaking, they're pushing more damage because damage is king in this game, right? The more damage you do, the faster you go and all that stuff. However, if you're like me and maybe you're playing on hardcore, or maybe you're not even playing on hardcore, but you just don't want to die all the time and you want to play a little bit more safe, a little bit more chill, or you can't even push, you have the damage, but you cannot survive a greater rift, you just keep dying over and over and over again. Let's talk about some changes you can make. First off, guys, run vitality, right? Run vitality in your Paragon points. Run vitality in your helm slot, right? Instead of running, I don't know, intelligence, right? You can run vitality in your equipment, right? You can run vitality in your chest piece instead of running intelligence or strength or dexterity or whatever it is, because you just need that more survivability. It's totally fine to not run the maximum main stat possible and just get a little bit more toughness. You can see here, I actually don't even know what mine will look like. Let's say I just take this off because I'm actually running resistance to all elements, the diamonds here. Sometimes that's better. But if I remove all those here and I were to put vitality in here, I'm actually curious to see, right? If I equip all this, you can see my toughness is 189 million base amount. If I just remove them all and put in some amethyst here, it's actually a little bit less because in my class, running resistance to all elements is a little bit more efficient. But some classes, you could run, for example, on my helmet slot, this is cooldown reduction on skills. Let's say I have too much cooldown reduction. Now I can run life in the helmet slot and bam, I get an extra 23% life in my helmet slot. It's totally fine to run some like amethysts in your gear pieces. In fact, that is what I'm doing on my wizard at the moment, where I'm running intelligence down the board, except for my helmet where I'm running the amethyst to give me some more life. It's totally fine to run that in some scenarios. Now, sometimes you can't because it's gonna mess up your build, and that's that, but it depends on what build. Another thing is running Unity. This is a powerful combo. And I'm actually going to swap over to my wizard here because this is another example that I want to suggest here for you all to give you guys just a good example of what I mean here. So Unity is a combo that you can run again on every single class, and it's going to split the damage between you and your follower. Now, you're going to want to run the follower token that makes them so they can't die, but you can see here, first off, I'm running that life amethyst in my helmet that I said because I needed some extra toughness to survive, okay? Not only that, but I'm also running Unity and the Halo of Carini. Now, for those of you that don't play Wizard, Halo of Carini is going to give me 76% basically less damage, and then Unity, normally people run Convention of Elements. I'm not running Convention of Elements. Even though Convention is going to give me a little bit more damage, Unity allows me to stay alive. Okay, this is very important. A lot of people focus, I have to run Convention of Elements because that's where the big damage is coming from. That's not necessarily true. You can run other things just to increase your toughness, okay? And that's what I wanted to mention to you all. Unity, you're going to want to apply this to your follower, and then if you apply it to your follower, you're going to actually get some extra value out of it. You're going to basically split the damage between yourself and your follower. So if you're like me and you were on your wizard and you have the damage, but you didn't have the toughness to really manage everything a lot more proper, then you want to absolutely run potentially Unity on your character. I'm also running it on my monk, which I've been building out for a couple days now. But keep in mind, you don't have to run the optimal build. You can always slot in some extra toughness instead of running this optimal build, right? Now, if you're running Guardian set, as I mentioned earlier, that's going to be a big help in actually giving you some extra toughness. You can see just the main stat difference, right? This wizard actually has some augments available, right? She has some augments on her. She's got some ancients in the slots, right? Not perfect, definitely not an optimized build by any means, not like amazing, but definitely solid, right? And yet I'm running so much less stats than my Demon Hunter because I'm not running that Guardian set. So again, Guardian set's going to help you with your toughness a ton as well. But again, toughness is more of a mindset. Instead of running, I don't know, attack speed, right? Let's say I wanted to swap this glove out, which is a really good glove, by the way. But let's say I have this glove, right? And I wanted to swap out attack speed. Run vitality, re-roll into vitality. Don't run attack speed. Or in this situation, make sure you have armor, right? Make it instead of attack speed here, making sure you have armor, intelligence, resistance, all that type of stuff. Don't bother min-maxing for that little bit of extra damage if you are not surviving at all. Again, just roll the defensive stats to get more toughness. Don't roll offensive stats. And again, maybe make some modifications to your build. Instead of running things like convention, instead of running things like, Squirt's necklace where you're getting extra damage taken, run more defensive options if you're having a struggle in surviving. Now, obviously, the builds that oftentimes are recommended are the peak performance, meaning if you can survive, if you're good at dodging abilities, or you have maxed out stats or min-max stats, then those builds are probably going to be better to get you more damage and to get you better value. But that doesn't mean that you can't make modifications for your own personal builds and maybe what you're running at the time. So that's going to be pretty much all I got for you all. I just wanted to give you guys some general tips on how to help you, get some value out of your builds, maybe make some modifications. I don't like this idea in general where it's like, this is the way to go. This is the best. Don't do anything else. Because in general, I think that a lot of the mindset in Diablo 3 is this is the best, I can't make any modifications. When I think that there's a lot more build diversity that you can run just to help you as your individual character or your individual person to fit your needs. Yes, there are min-maxed builds, and I completely understand that aspect to it, where it's like, yes, this is going to give you the objective most damage. That's totally fine. But a lot of people aren't building for that, okay? They're trying to complete their rifts. They're trying to do a little bit better. And in those scenarios, because of the way the Season 28 buffs work and the altar works, just min-max for yourself. Maybe you need a little bit more toughness because you get hit by a little bit more. Maybe you need a little bit more movement speed because you don't know how to, stutter step. Or maybe you need a little bit more damage because you have the toughness and you're a little bit safer, but you need a little bit more damage now. All those can matter and all those change. And I just want to give you guys some advice, especially for you newer / returning players that might be so focused in on these optimized builds that it actually might not be optimized for your scenario. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you guys had any tips or anything like that I left out that you want to leave in the comment section down below, please be sure to do so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.